do our invocation, and if everyone will, please bow your head. Our kind, gracious Heavenly Father, as we bow our head today, as we're doing business for our county, we pray that we've all got an open mind to the things of the county and what's best for the county. And Lord, we just ask you to go with us through the meeting and be, Lord, with each and every one that has decisions to make. And we pray for all those that have had the COVID. We pray for all our workers that have worked steadily to keep it from being spread. And we just pray, God, that you'd watch over us. Amen. All right, we'll move right along to our pledge. If you would, let us all stand and do our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll move right along. We're going to try to move the meeting and get everyone out so they can get home before a big snow comes. So 3.2A, Proclamations and Awards. I believe Mr. Barrier told me that he didn't have anything, but I think as a board we've got a lot of awards to be given out for people that has worked so hard during this COVID. And as you looked in the informational items, we had all kinds of good letters. I've had good phone calls bragging that they've come from other places and how nice it people was to them and what a nice place we had and how that it just moved along so good and was so organized. And I told Philip, I said, well, we'll just award everybody today for that. And we'll move right along to 3.2B, public comments. And I believe that Cindy and Mr. Barrier said they hadn't received anything. And there's not anybody here today, so I don't guess we've got any public comments. So we'll move right along to 3.3A, our annual audit report. Sharon Gillespie. We'll give it over to you.
You want me to go over to the podium?
Yeah, if you want to. That'll be fine. You can lay your book down and feel at home.
Well, I never thought I would be trying to pick out the appropriate mask to be wearing to one of these presentations. I've tried about 5, and I know which ones I don't want to wear, so we're going to try this one today and see how it
See, mine is my favorite.
These are pretty good.
Well, I like those. So Avery, together we are Avery County, right?
There you go.
Okay, I want to, first of all, thank you for allowing me to prepare your audit report again this year. We always enjoy having a good relationship with the staff here, and I know that with the change in your finance department, we never really know what we're going to walk into, but fortunately we had a very easy time auditing. We had, Caleb was very cooperative, Ashley, Star, everybody just helped us the whole way, so we didn't have any problems at all. So that's always great news. But if you'd like to take a quick look at your audit report, and just go ahead and turn over to page 4 of that report. And I'll try not to keep you till after the blizzard comes. But just to remind you a little bit about how this document is organized, it goes from very broad to very specific. So in the front of the document, there's a general overview of the county's finances, and the farther in the back you go, there are more detailed schedules. So the 90, 100 pages, whatever we have here, is not really easy to digest, so there is a section in the front called the Management Discussion and Analysis, and that section tells you just briefly in an overview of what happened financially with the county, whether you had a good year, bad year, what were the main things that you did. So we won't look at too many specific pages here, but I would like to start with page 4. This is your audit opinion. And so actually over in the middle of page 5 is the sentence that you're looking for in any audit report. It says, in our opinion, based on our audit and the report of other auditors, the financial statements referred to present fairly in all material respects the financial position of Avery County. Now we do have to refer to other auditors because the airport is part of this audit. They are part of the county called a component unit. So we have to put their financial information over here in a separate column into your audit. And also the Fire Commission is part of this audit. The Fire Commission is a little bit different though. It's called a blended component unit. So their numbers are included in yours. They don't have a separate column anywhere in the audit. But if you had not passed the audit, you would see some different information here. So this wording is exactly what you want to see, that you did in fact pass the audit. If you will flip over to page 8, this begins your management discussion and analysis. And we try to hit a few highlights of things that happened over the years in these first bullet points. So we can see the first bullet point says the assets exceeded the liabilities by $48 million. In other words, you owned more than you owed at June 30th to the tune of $48 million. And of course, that's all your buildings and everything from the beginning of Avery County. The value of those. The government's net position increased by a net of $5.2 million, primarily due to capital improvements on county properties. So one thing that's happening is you've got a lot of construction that was going on in the 20 fiscal year. You started with the major high school renovation. You had the ag building, the pool was finished, so several things going on that caused your net worth to go up because you turned your dollars into fixed assets, into buildings and improvements. The third bullet, at the close of the fiscal year, the governmental funds reported fund balance of $32 million. So right away, as I say every year, you could get confused here because this third bullet says you have $32 million, and I just literally said you had $48 million. So that takes us to the accounting for government units. What the accounting for a government is called a current flow concept. And that is, what you're worried about as a government is the money coming in one year and the money going back out. You don't really look so much at the buildings you own and your debt and all that. You just look at the picture of how quickly can I provide services to the citizens of the county. So current flow method says you have $32 million because it doesn't look at your debt or your buildings and so on. And regular accounting accrual method, like we use in a regular business, says you have $48 million. So that's the difference in those levels of financial statements. And the current flow method, a long time ago, maybe 12, 14 years ago, the accrual method didn't even exist. But someone said, we need to look at these governments as if they are businesses. And we need to see everything they own and everything they owe. So we added another layer to our financial statements. But the fourth bullet here, at the end of the fiscal year, unassigned fund balance of the general fund was $14 million, or 48% of general fund expenditures. Now that's a strong fund balance. Local government commission steps in at the point that you get to 8%. A financially stable entity is normally considered 20 to 25%, and your fund balance is 48%. So right away you feel great about that. However, there's always a however. You do have some monies that were sitting in your fund balance for COVID that had not yet been spent. You also have some money sitting in your fund balance for the high school renovation project that has not been spent. So those two items make your fund balance look a little bit more healthy than what it actually is. Because you actually did borrow $11 million on the high school renovation project, and you spent, I think, a little over half of that last year. So a lot of those funds are still sitting there in that figure. If you will turn back to page 20, this statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance, this is the current flow method, and it looks at the dollars that came in last year and the dollars that went out. So you can see at the top here, the far column, the dollars that came in were $37 million. Of course, most of that was your property taxes and sales taxes, but then all the other DHHS and all the other funding there totaled to $37 million. The money that went out was $39 million in different operating expenses. But that did include, you'll see here, capital outlay, $8.9 million. So out of that $39 million, almost $9 million was bricks and mortar. It was capital improvements, buildings, equipment, that kind of thing. And as we said, with that current flow method, you count your loans as actually income. So down below this $39 million, you'll see the loan coming in as proceeds from long-term financing, $11 million. So that adds to your fund balance, as I said, giving you a grand total change for the year of $8.9 million in your fund balance. But there again, most of that help is because of that, or a lot of that help is because of that $11 million. If you'll flip back to page 19, where this statement that we just looked at measures the inflows and outflows, page 19 here is your balance sheet, and it measures what you owned and what you owed as of June 30th. However, it is just looking at the current assets that you have. So you don't see any buildings on here, you don't see any of the long-term debt. All you see is your cash, your receivables that were monies coming in after the end of the year from various sources. Due from other governments is actually money from the state that they owed you before June 30, and they didn't get you paid until the month of July. And coming down to the bottom here, we have the total fund balances. You'll see we have three columns. The general fund is always its own separate category. The high school renovation project, because of its size, has its own column. And then other non-major governmental funds lumped together, the fire commission, the E911, those smaller capital projects, that's everything else that's smaller. So you can take a look at where those were standing. And then, going backwards, and sorry for flipping around so much, but backwards to page 17. 17 is your balance sheet looking at the big picture. This looks at what you own and what you owe in addition to all those current things. So you'll see we have a separate column for the airport, but this first column shows that you own, between your cash in the bank and your capital assets and land, so on, you own $70 million. This projection is that you owe $24 million, leaving your net position here at $48 million. And I'm skipping a few lines here, but a couple of things that are here in this figure of what you owe, because I know right away you're probably saying we don't owe $24 million. A few things that they add in there are the pension funds, the state and local government employees' pension. You have an actuarial study done every year that tells you how much shortfall is in that pension fund and how much, if they had to pay it all out at June 30, how much you would owe. So that figure is here. The other huge figure that's in here is your other post-employment health benefits, OPEB. And there again, you have a study each year that an actuary says, how much, what are the trends in health insurance, how much are these benefits going to cost you to keep providing? So that number is included in here. So those two numbers alone make up a very significant portion of your total liabilities. And of course, you know, the new debt on the high school is also included there. But I think that's pretty much it for the financial part. If you wanted to see more detail of what makes up these numbers, just to show you, you can flip back to page 64. Because you can't tell over on those exhibits how much you're paying out for salaries, how much you're paying out for supplies and different things. But here on page 64, Exhibit B1, this will give you a really detailed breakdown of where the different sales tax revenues are coming from, what the different departments are spending. If you wanted to see, for example, the elections department, it's here on page 65 in the middle. You can see how much they paid in salaries, other expenses in general, and capital outlay. So each department is a function of the government. So these first 5 or 6 departments are under the general government function. Then you have the public safety function and the transportation function. So if there's any department that you are curious about, B1 will give you more detailed information. Then all those funds that are combined together in that one column on one of the front exhibits, if you'll go over to page 73, and I apologize if this print is so small. I hope y'all have better vision than I do. Page 73 tells you all those smaller funds that were lumped together in that exhibit. And there again, after page 73, gives you a detailed schedule of every one of those small funds. So as I said, you go from very detailed in the back to pretty general in the front. So if you really wanted to look up something, you would probably start with the back of the document. So only one more page I wanted to look at briefly, and that's page 83. Page 83 is the analysis of your current tax levy, and this is always very important because this is how you can budget. This is how you tell how much money is coming through the door so that you can know what to plan. And your current year collection percentage is 97.78. Last year, that same collection percentage was 98.18. So dropped just a bit, but with the strange year we've had and all the economic factors that have come into play with COVID, still a very excellent rate. Right now, the rates for 6/30/20 are not published, but when we do see those published later on in the year, I wouldn't be surprised if you weren't far ahead of other comparable counties of this size. We had no findings. We always mention in our management letter segregation of duties, and we actually did not mention that this year because we got in trouble for doing that. And I had my peer review where I am audited every 3 years, and I got in trouble now for not mentioning it. So they can't decide if they want us to put it in here or not. But I just want to let you know that just be very aware that you are entrusting a small handful of people with a lot of financial responsibility. So ask questions, make sure you get your financial report, make sure that everything makes sense to you as a board member because you are part of management in that capacity. But we did not have any trouble. We had no findings. We didn't have a lot of journal entries. I know that this was the first year that we were not able to come in and make journal entries for you. So I think you had a little bit of outside consult, but overall I think everything was very clean, particularly considering that you were without a finance officer for a little while. So does anyone have any questions for me?
And will you state that again for the record that you've had no findings?
No findings, absolutely.
Thank you.
I know this document has a lot to absorb, and you may think of something after I leave that you'd like to ask about. And since it's tax season now, I'll probably be at the office about any time you would want to call with a question. So just feel free to call any time, and we'll try to take care of your question. If no one has any questions, I'll go ahead and excuse myself.
It's always good to have a clean audit.
Yes.
It makes things a lot better and a lot easier to do, and we're glad to hear that.
And Ms. Sharon, we thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Amazing report.
Yes, it is.
All right, we've got to approve the audit, and we had a time that we could ask any questions, so apparently everybody's ready. And we need a motion to approve the audit.
Move we approve as presented.
All right, Mr. Woody Young made the motion and Tim Phillips seconded it. How do you vote, Mr. Woody Hall Young?
Wood Hall Young Jr. votes aye.
Martha Hicks votes aye.
Tim Phillips votes aye.
Dennis Aldridge, aye.
All right. We'll move right along to 3.3B, Avery County Economic Development Website Options. Ken Walters.
You'll be able to understand me a lot better if I take the mask off. Good afternoon, all. Just a quick little bit of history. If you probably already know, there was no economic development website at the averycounty.gov site prior to the EDC. And we did, in fact, get one up, and it's running, and it's there. And we're proud of it, but it's only okay. It is, quite frankly, from the people that are out there today that are using the internet to look and do research. It's unimaginative, it's dull, it lacks pizzazz, and most importantly of all, it's simply not competitive. If you were to go elsewhere in North Carolina and look at other economic development sites, you'll clearly understand what I mean. When we did our research, and this has been going on for quite a while, one of the things that we learned is, unfortunately, the development of a website is really very expensive. That was discouraging. And then Melinda People came up with an idea. Why not put the site at the Avery County Chamber's site? What we could do then is to use Big Boom Design in Asheville, which is the people that they have been using for years. And the advantages of doing this is it would keep the cost to a minimum, it would provide us much greater exposure, and it would address some of the concerns that the board has relative to the averycounty.gov site. And the reality is, if you're going to be involved in the site selection arena, whether that's an entrepreneur or a work-at-home employee or even a site selection committee, we simply have to upgrade what we have. We've got to make it more competitive. And so what we're going to present to you today is a site that is designed to attract full-time resident taxpayer business people. Okay? It is not designed to be of interest to second home or retirement home folks. And our most important demographic target market are those people that were born and raised in Avery County that are somewhere out there now. What we want to do is we want to send a message. You can return to Avery County. You can be as successful in Avery County as anywhere else in the United States. Most importantly, if you return to Avery County, you will be able to contribute to maintaining the culture that I think everyone so wants to maintain and is so proud of. The EDC committee has spent more hours than I can even begin to count on this project. And one of the things that, when you look at some of the materials that you'll see, that we have been amazed with, and that has been the cooperation and the participation of a whole group of Avery County leaders. Now, I don't know if you've got the materials. If you haven't, you will receive them shortly, okay? And so what I want to say is that what I'm bringing you today would be all of the materials that will be incorporated in the site, and ask at your convenience over the course of February to look at them, hopefully approve them. I tell you today that in talking to the CEO of Big Boom Design, Boomer Sassman, he has given me a cost estimate of somewhere between $900 and $1,100. That would load the materials, configure the web pages, and load on the chamber site. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
Will that, you say the chamber site,
Yes.
and it will not, so it will not be on the Avery County website, or will it be in the Chamber of Commerce site on the Avery County website?
What it will be is the new site will only be on the chamber site.
Okay.
The current web pages as currently exist will remain unchanged.
Okay.
The modifications that we do from time to time. And the only other aspect of that is, though, we as the, for example, your IT person, Dennis Holland, he'll be maintaining it. But once we get it loaded, maintenance really is just, okay, do we want to add something new? Do we want to put something else on? So maintenance would be at a real minimum.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, so if you click on the Avery County website, it will not be there.
It will not, but there will be a referral
To the chamber site?
to the chamber.
Okay, that answers my question.
You can currently go on the site, and you can go to the chamber site automatically.
I just wondered
So-
how it's going to work, yeah.
And when you go, it can be automatically linked and say economic development, boom, there it is. And I'll remind the board that we did have our public hearing. We had $4,000 in the budget to do this project. We have only spent $100 of that budget so far, so that is well under our certain figures.
Well, if we've already budgeted money to do it, then what do we have to do? Just
You
approve?
just have to prove.
Just
We
approve
want your
to do it?
blessing.
In other words, this gives you an opportunity, so all the board members will know exactly what people are going to be looking at and reading on the new site. That's all the material that you have. And the fact that we wanted to bring before you what the cost estimate would be to get this up and running. And so my intention, if you will permit me, is to come back at your March meeting and get your decision.
If I may interject, I've been in several of the EDC meetings, and there were several different companies that the board looked at, the committee rather, looked at to do this project. Some of them were completely out of the realm as far as cost was involved, and they were only, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but kind of wanted to start from the ground up and do their own thing. And this was probably the best, most cost-effective way of putting more dynamic content onto a site that has a lot more traffic. That's another thing. The Chamber of Commerce site gets much more traffic than the Avery County Economic Development site does. I mean, exponentially more. So this would allow more people to have access to the information, and if they were to go in Avery County, like Tim was saying, it can be linked to get onto there. So it's kind of the biggest bang for the buck that they could come up with. That's my understanding.
Is it something, I mean, well, first of all, let me say I apologize for not being at the meetings. I've had some health issues and some things, so I'm sorry for that.
Very aware of
I
that, Tim. I'm
publicly
just
apologize
delighted
for
to
that.
see you here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But, why, if we think it's the best site, and I'm gonna say Dennis would know that, and you would know that, why are we waiting? Why don't we just go ahead and approve this and get this going?
We put these people on this
Yeah.
committee,
Yeah.
we trust them, or they wouldn't be on there. I mean, that's where I was going. Why, if it's already budgeted?
Yeah.
Well, it's just, you know, the bottom line is, we serve at the pleasure of you folks.
Well, I mean, we know we've got good people and doing what needs to be done, and my opinion is like, if we're budgeted like we said, why don't we just go ahead and get this flowing?
That was one thing I was gonna ask, if you wanted to go ahead and.
I would,
vote today.
I think.
Kim, I do appreciate you coming with this information to us, keeping this board apprised of what you all are doing. It's
Very much.
appreciated.
That's our responsibility.
And you always have, and it's appreciated.
I think it's a reasonable price for all this stuff that I've looked through today, or this week, and,
And as we continue to grow, we can maybe add more.
We can grow.
Grow.
Absolutely.
That is one thing, that's like everything in business today, there's always continuous improvement.
I really liked reading this, Why is Avery County the place for me?
yeah.
I've read this.
I said to Dr. Brigman, I read that and wished I was younger. I want to have more family so I could just send them to Avery County Schools.
Absolutely.
Well, we do appreciate you coming and being so open with us and letting us, I know that's what Joneses are doing, and the board, you thank the board for us, and,
Is there any reason why we cannot go ahead and approve this and let them go work?
no, not since there's money in the thing. Do I hear a motion to approve the funds for the website?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mr. Tim Phillips made the motion, Mr. Woody Hall Young seconded. How do you vote, Mr. Young?
With Al Young Jr. votes aye.
Martha Hicks votes aye.
Tim Phillips, aye.
Dennis Aldridge, aye.
All right,
There you go.
Very good.
Thank you all.
I will say, I was reading through this information, kind of, with the way that things have been here lately on my mind, when I read about one of the little bullet points on this sheet of frequently asked questions, said the population 17,505, and during the summer months, the population grew to 18 to 20. I think there was 18 to 20 between here and Banner Elk.
In the last couple of weeks, anyway.
So I think that figure may be a little off kilter.
I agree with you, Dennis. Boy, if you're in the lower part of the county and you want to go to Banner Elk these days, unless you go over the...
I think that population in the summer is probably closer to 50 than it is to 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that particular figure, I would have some issue with.
Friday afternoon, I was at the red light in Rochelle, and they said it was backed up to Holiday Inn Banner Elk. Now,
well, that was true, 'cause I
Yeah.
was right in.
Just all day in, wasn't
Yeah, I was coming back from Boone, and I was
at
right
bed
there.
with my dog, and we looked back that way, and it was crazy.
But Ms. Martha, you talk about awards. If anybody deserves an award, it's Mr. Ken Walter right there and the entire EDC board.
The whole
That
board.
group is unbelievable, and they care so much about this county. It's a pleasure to go to those meetings and serve as manager, because they are fantastic, and that young man right there does a whole lot for us, and we pay him zero.
I would say that we, you know, once this COVID and things get straightened out, Mr. Walker, we've got a lot of awards that we need to do. And Philip knows we just been
It's hard to
holding it
celebrate
back,
county
and it'll
government.
probably
That's
take
what
a
it
whole meeting to do nothing but awards,
Yeah.
but.
Absolutely.
So it sounds to me like Philip saying you earn your money.
Yeah.
He first Avery, right at the end.
Even the overtime is great.
Yeah.
But do pass it
That
on.
overtime's
to the
double
board.
time, ain't it?
Ken, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very much.
It's time and a half off the overtime he puts in.
I did leave
Well,
a copy of the
that's right.
presentation with Philip, if anybody wanted
Okay.
it for reference. I thank you so much, not just for your time, but for your confidence. I'm walking out of here, I'm not gonna walk out, I'm just gonna float right out of the room. Thank you so much.
We thank you.
Ken Walter.
You have a good evening, sir.
Yes. Let's hope the Mother Nature doesn't dump too
There you go.
white stuff on us tonight.
All right, we'll move right along to 3.3C, our HCCOG amended charter. And we've had that before us, and it's, looks like it really needed to be changed, and the wording and some of it. I know that Mr. Aldridge is on that board, and are there anything that you would like to say, Mr. Aldridge, on this?
Well, there's a lot in that, as we, as the High Country Council of Governments, have looked into this charter, the whole genesis of this update came from when we realized, as we look back to, and we were still operating under the Region D charter when it was first formed. So this had never been really updated since that original document was forged.
1974.
Yeah, and the procedures that we were operating under did not match that original document, verse, chapter and verse, because it had been reorganized and reformed, and some of the names were changed. And if you had an opportunity to look at the document that it was beginning, you see all the strikeouts and the names and the way referred to the committee. There was a lot of redundancy as far as the naming of the particular groups, and they used the same group had more than one name a couple of places. So really what this is a cleaning up, if you will, of the original charter to bring it into line with what is currently being done. And one of the things, one of the major changes was the idea of a quorum. Originally, there was one, each county had a representative, and then there was an at-large that was voted on, and then over the years that has been changed to where now not only the counties have a representative, but each municipality. So we've gone from the original 8 to 10 to 33, I believe it is now, governmental bodies that are covered under the High Country Council of Governments. So the quorum originally said was 60%, which is hard to maintain, especially we've discovered this year during COVID with everything of trying to get that quorum reached. So we've been operating under a 50% quorum rule for some time, and this addresses that and updates it to bring it into compliance with the charter as it's presented. And anything that's done, because the High Country Council of Governments is made up of the individual governmental bodies, and it has to be ratified by 2/3 of the representative bodies. And that's what this is before us today, to look at the approval of that and presenting the resolution to approve it. One of the other things that runs alongside this is the due structure had also not been updated in 22 years. And because of the increase in operating and some of the things that were being done, the executive board of the High Country Council of Governments, which is made up of all the individual governmental bodies, voted to have a 3-year phase-in increase over a 3-year period, basically, to try to bring the dues more in line with what would be needed for the operation. Of course, the dues from the individual counties are just a small component of the total budget, because a lot of it comes from, most of the budget is pass-through funds that come from governmental agencies and the High Country Council of Government through the Area Agency on Aging. I have to slow down when I say that, that's hard to say. And the Planning Department and the Workforce Development Board, those are the 3 major components. A lot of that is then dispersed out into the representative counties and governmental units. So they act as the clearinghouse for a lot of this, and as we know, even now, the county has used them for administration of numerous grants, and they've assisted in the writing of grants for not only the county, but for several of the individual towns and municipalities within the county. So I feel that the value of the Council of Governments far exceeds the expenditure that we send to them. We get much more back for that in terms of services and the opportunity to have qualified people that we can draw from. Even, we just had, 2 meetings ago, when the gentleman was here talking about the trail grant, or the Robin grant, and all the others that they have been a part of. So that's kind of how this came about and why it's coming to us in this form, to upgrade or update the charter to reflect current practice. Sorry about that, but that's kind of lengthy, but it needs to be said.
Well, as we read through it and saw the old one compared to the new one, it's needed to be done a long time, and
No, it has anything to do with that. I didn't grasp that.
So are you good with it?
I mean, it sounds like that, I mean, the, High Country Council of Government has, I think, they put the work in and approved everything.
It was through there, there's the executive committee, which is all in the smaller committee, which is kind of the oversight group. We get it through them, and there is a lawyer on that group that has input to it. And of course, we are only one of the organizations that will have to ratify this. It has to be approved by the 2/3 majority of the representative bodies.
all right. Do we have any discussion? Any more discussion? If not, do I hear that we adopt the resolution for the HCCOG amended charter?
Move we approve.
Second.
All right, Mr. Woody Hall Young moved to approve, and Mr. Dennis Aldridge second. How do you vote, Mr. Woody Hall Young Jr.?
Woody Hall Young Jr. votes aye.
Martha Hicks votes aye.
Tim Phillips votes aye.
Dennis Aldridge, aye.
All right. And Dennis, we thank you for being on that board and representing us.
It was, if one of the, just as a sidelight, you'll notice in the information here, the original, it's how long it's been, the original, they finally found a copy of the charter, and if you'll notice, it looks like it's written on a typewriter, and there's a lot of creases and marks, and it definitely has none the worse for wear, and I was right back in Miss Shell typing class when I looked at this. Just a little bit, yeah. It was. It took them a while to fish that one out.
All right. We'll move right along then to 3.3D, subdivision approval, Vineyard, reserved phrase 4, lots VR 30 through VR40. And we'll turn it over to you all.
All right, the Avery County Planning Board has approved the final plat that's before you today, Eagles Nest Holdings LLC. There was one addendum that we had to get signed off of. Mr. Lacy, the chairman of the board, signed off on it. We had a tile line back in 1993 that we had to correct, and it was about 6 to 10 foot variance. Was driving Mr. Seaberg crazy, I believe. No, I should say that. Whatever. A little anxiety on his part, and that was not his fault either. Your reserve phase 4, it's in the Fall Creek Fire District, and is contiguous with the old Big Mountain Road up there, NC 1310. We appreciate the consideration of this matter. David here is here with the map, and I guess you guys have the copy, and a digital copy on your computers there. So, if there's any questions, David or myself, and we'll do our best to answer said questions.
Miss Michelle, have you looked all this over, and do you have?
I was provided with a copy of the documents, and it's my understanding that the planning board has reviewed everything and has approved it, and is related to signed off on it. So, they determined it's in compliance with the ordinance.
It's good to see that the planning board, we see what they agree and things. It makes it a lot easier for us to make our decisions. And I appreciate that.
I appreciate my planning board. they're great. They're a great resource.
Do we have any commissioner that has any questions?
I'd like to ask a question just for my benefit. There's, the smallest lot here is what, 1 point something? I believe it's number 30, 1.114 acres. How much of course, I know the terrain differs somewhat through these lots. But say of a lot of that size, how much of that lot is actually usable? Does that make sense?
Yeah, every site is site specific.
Well, I know that every site that it's approved, it's got a house plan, it's got sewer, it's got, I mean, I understand that. But how much of that 1.1 acre lot can you actually get over?
Well, getting the driveway in there's the big thing. You know, once you get your driveway in, then you can have your house site. Then you get your setbacks for your septic and your well and all that kind of good stuff.
Because an acre of ground out here in a big field's a pretty good piece of land, but an acre of ground on the side of a mountain ain't much.
Most of these lots through that entire end of the property, actually all phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, for mountain purposes are very buildable lots. They're you know, to tell you how much for each one would be kind of hard to do, but out of an acre, for example, like lot 38, you know, I would say a building envelope for that particular lot would be almost 40% of that lot could be built. I mean, probably more than that, but 40%, considering driveway off the road, would be probably a likely buildable area there. You know, that's the beauty of the lots that we're going to recreate up there. We're not going to give somebody a slope that you got to put a $150,000 driveway in. I mean, there's some lots at Eagles Nest proper that are similar to that. Some of the older lots and reported lots, but most of these up off of that backside sits on a really nice piece of property that sort of traverses a ridge and down below the side of a ridge, so it's very buildable areas. And this is the last of that area. I wish we had about 5 more. But but those are the last of the lots that have been approved as far as the overall plan. These are.
One of the things that is concerning, up in this area at the top where these are located, and especially them being connected with the Old Beach Mountain Road and crossing over the Old Beach Mountain Road from one side of the property to the other. And one of the things that's been brought before myself and maybe other members on the board, how can we, sort of, we as the developer, the county, and everybody else that's involved, the homeowners, keep the Old Beach Mountain Road from becoming a construction driveway for all those works up there. I drove up there recently, and there's been a lot of big truck traffic on that road.
Yeah.
And that road is narrow, and it's gravel, and it's not conducive to that. And that's a concerning point to a lot of the homeowners and the other people that are in that area. So that's just a point that I would like to bring up is it's a public throughway, I understand that, but at the same time, it was never designed for tricycle trucks.
Right. We share that same concern, and I can tell you from an in-house standpoint, we've done a couple things with our existing employees to bring that to their attention. Of course, most of our existing employees aren't driving those specific trucks,
Right.
but we are pulling trailers at times, so we wanted to first start there. We've had a couple meetings at least about traffic on Old Beach and Beach together. We've talked to a couple of homeowners out there as well to let them know what we were doing. I've personally had a couple meetings, I mean, not to mention any names, but I've had a couple meetings with probably some of the bigger violators, so to speak, as it relates to being over center line, and which on that road is very easy to do anyway.
There is no center line.
Right.
There's
So,
no lane.
you know, but we brought it to their attention as far as speed, turning around in people's driveways to make turns on the Old Beach and things like that. And so it's been brought up with all of the builders at a builders meeting. And but you're right. I mean, it's tough. I'm on that road 2 or 3 times a week, and I deal and see the same things that a lot of the owners see.
Yeah, the day I drive up there, it was kind of a damp, rainy day, and of course it was easy to see all the traffic, and it was pretty sloppy. And that's just, as we go through this, that's some of the concerns that we have, and some of the things from a broad constituency that we want to be sure that y'all are aware of as far as the concerns that mirror this growth.
Yeah, we appreciate that. It's definitely a concern we've had too. We've got a security measure in place now also, where security doing more patrols off of the backside of the mountain, outside of the gates. We have something that we're getting. I got a meeting this Thursday about 2 new security officers that we're going to bring on board, and a program we're going to put together to start initiating some fines and stuff for some of the things we're seeing, from speeding to trash to, we make weekly runs through there, if not daily, picking up trash, and it's from what you'd expect. It's coming out of the work trucks. Some of it's more blatant than others, but
the condition of the gravel road, the Old Beach Mountain Road that goes around on top, as well as the condition of the road that turns off at Heaton Store, the paved road.
Yeah.
That discussion has been had with DOT, believe me.
Yeah.
More than once.
Yeah, we went to the intention, yes, sir.
Probably needs to be had again.
Yeah, in the fall
We probably
meeting.
need to have that again.
I think
I've
there's
had
fall
several
meeting.
discussions with them,
because this
not with local, I'm sorry, above.
Because this whole vineyard development up here is brought 60 sites, give or take, in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
That's a lot of not only homeowner traffic, but everything getting to that home, So I think it's one thing that as you say, Chris, from a DOT level, that you're going to have to realize that this is no longer just a a single lane, 20-foot gravel road. I mean, you really can't fix it.
I've met with DOT out there as well, and, I mean, I can tell you, I won't make a emphatic statement on what we would do there, but if they'd let us do it, it'd be likely that we would upgrade it at our cost completely with that. I mean, if they just give us the green light, which hasn't happened.
The only way you can do that will be if the state relinquishes rights to it.
Because there's no maintenance, they
Then
don't.
that's solving a problem, but not solving the problem.
Right, no, I understand.
What is the long range in a year, I mean, just looking ahead, when will development be coming close to an end, do you think? I mean, do you have any idea?
A little. I mean, you know, obviously from a scheme of the entire project, we're on the back end of it.
Right.
So I can say that, I think that's pretty obvious. From our internal development amenities, look, we have a few little small things we're doing, within the gates, and there's, you know, we're looking at other plans as well, but from a build out, I think we have somewhere around 300 to 350 lots to build, that could be built out. But that's, whether or not that will happen or not, or how those get released is another thing. So, you know, again, we're on the back end of it, but what does that mean? Is that 2 years, or is it 5? Or, you know, it's kind of hard to say. I know we're not trying to necessarily create another Eagle's Nest anywhere. I mean, that's a city and a city, so a town and a town, so, but there'll be a little bit of time, but some of the things are definitely, they're a concern to us, because we want everybody, we don't want to create a situation that's negative for our people either.
Right.
And I'd say a good percentage of those coming up to the backside will enter through the community, when they come, but then sometimes when they exit, you know, they're obviously going to be using beach and Old Beach.
Right.
But I think we put some traffic measures in place. We do everything we can while that's going on from a builder perspective to let them know that we're watching it. Until, I think, personally, until we start issuing some fines up there, it's going to be my team constantly maintaining trash and things like that, like we do every day. Because people just sort of get slack with it. And it's going to happen on job sites, but we do keep, that being said, it's probably one of the cleanest, because we're on it every day, you know, so we try to keep it very, very clean, very tidy. But traffic-wise, yeah, we definitely need to keep doing what we're doing. We work with our security team and others to make sure things are what they are on the back. I know we slowed down one particular group, not only slowed them down, but rerouted them a different way to stay off of that road, because they were utilizing the driveway to turn around in. And they had to. I mean, it's not that they were just doing it to do it. They couldn't make the turn.
My biggest concern, and I live at Curtis Creek at Heaton, is the buildings that's being built beside the river. Used to, you couldn't move a rock unless you got the EPA to give you the authority to do that. Because when I got flooded and needed to work into the creek, we couldn't do it till then. But my biggest concern is down next to the highway where this fishing place is being built, is houses being so close together. You could just about raise the window up and spit in the oven.
It's under a PUD. I mean, they're using septic systems that are what's called manifold together, and the structures themselves they have to say 35 feet, and really 35 feet's not that far.
No, it's not.
And we've had them survey from top of bank back to get that.
And the first thing you know, if you keep a building, which there are 3 right there together right now,
Right.
we're gonna look like Chinatown, or we're gonna look like Pigeon Forge. And that's not what the mountain people wants to see. And I don't wanna get started, so I'm just putting.
I understand, I mean, but, you know, but it's a planned unit, development, and those people who fish down there, they're very wildlife, and they do a lot for wildlife and stuff, so I mean, it's, you know, it's a trade-off. They bought it.
It's good when they're fishing, but when we get these hard rains and stuff, it's not good on the people down below it, because it's turning it loose.
They have buffers, they have riparian buffers, and it's, you know, all the accelerated velocities, but you're gonna get, I mean, if you look at your accelerated velocity, it comes out of Sugar Mountain, they're really steep, and goes into Elk River, and goes into the Mill Pond, and you look at your accelerated velocities. Where it feeds into that area of Eaton, your riparian, your Hickrata's models are much less steep. Now, if you go down Elk River from Sugar Mountain to the Mill Pond, that whole river is cut down to bedrock, and it's underscored. But you have tremendous amount of impervious surface in Sugar Mountain, and that's a municipality, and it was developed back in the early 70s with Carolina Caribbean, and you have accelerated velocity. You're looking at, it's measured in feet per second, and it's very high. So whenever you get a large rain, a large event, you know, that's in a range of 3, 4, 5 inches, you know, 6 inches of rain within a 24-hour period, you're going to have that. But we've maintained better than most. Now, NRCS, we went in there 2008, and we spent $14 million. They spent $14 million in Ada County to do all those intermittent veins to keep that water turned to the river. So, I mean, we've been quite proactive and aggressive in trying to maintain and help those velocities and not let that get out of its banks. So I understand your concern. It concerns me too, because every time it comes a hard rain, you'll see me head to Elk Park and back up there to see what type of velocity I have and how high it is on the bank and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I don't have a good answer. It is what it is. And when you get those big rain events, you know, we can only plan for a 10-year event. And of course, that in 04 with Ivan and Francis.
Yeah, that's when we got through.
Yeah, I mean, those were both 100-year events.
Yeah.
You know,
And the last one was 5 years, 100 years, somebody said.
First 500-year was that we had was Roaring Creek. Remember that? And I call it the Great Flush. And we had to go in there and rebuild all those rivers and move everybody back. I think the whole grant program there was about relocating over 100 homes and stuff like that. So, I mean, you know.
And I'll tell you another thing, you can't tell me that you don't get in the river, because when I'm there, I see the mud.
Well, you see equipment in there. I mean, equipment is.
Yeah.
You see equipment in there? Well, take pictures and give them to me, please. We'll give them to the DN, and they'll be fine. If there's any type of equipment in the river.
All that mud coming down, and you know somebody's working in the creek.
Not on our side.
You have a tremendous amount of sediment in that mill pond. Now, the Corps of Engineers took that sediment out there in 98, 97 at an expense of about $4 million. Now, they don't have that kind of money now. You have that baffle. You've got the mill pond is a huge sediment trap. There's a ton of, and whenever you have a large rain event, some of that mud is going to escape out of that mill pond, because it's just, I mean, there's just so much money. If you look at that mill pond, you can see the sediment backed up in it.
I want to just add though, because it was brought up, so another program we're working on right now, it's kind of a twofold reason behind this, is we're looking at putting on an individual or individuals that will do, stream bank management for us along our section, which is roughly, about 3/4 of a mile, right through there, close to a mile, primarily for purposes of guiding and trout fishing that section. So part of that won't just be guiding, it will be an individual who will also be doing stream bank restoration, not restoration, but management. We'd coordinate the restoration if it were ever to be needed, but stocking fish and things like that. And I can tell you from personal I've been fishing up here for 30 years. I fish that section a lot because I'm usually the only one in there. And that river clears out faster than any river I've been on anywhere up here. With the velocity that comes through, and you'll see it'll be high, it'll be a little bit cloudy, and then the next day you'll come through and it's down and clear again. And part of what I'm looking at when I'm down there too is still fencing, houses, construction, trash, making sure there's
I've
nothing
seen
going
it
up.
when it's up, ready to come out of the banks, the trees are coming down. And, I know we don't live in the creek, but we live beside of it.
Sure, that's a very important thing.
Yeah, well, it's a great resource, and we have to maintain it.
I move we approve this plat, this is presented to us.
All right, we have a motion to approve the subdivision, lots VR 30 through VR 40, and we have, Mr. Tim Phillips second that. How do you vote, Mr. Woody Hall Young?
Woody Hall Young Jr. votes aye.
Martha Hicks will vote aye.
Tim Phillips, aye.
Dennis Aldridge, aye.
All right, we thank you.
I'm gonna get Ms. Martha to sign that for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dolly.
Mike could sign here and cross it out and initial, so.
You sign for Ms. Martha's spot.
Yeah, so we can just go above that.
That's right,
Yes, ma'am.
all right.
Tell me it's not as important as Ms. Martha. I'll call it.
Oh, is that?
What do you think is going on?
Sometimes that helps.
Yeah, we got it.
It looks warm outside,
No.
We're gonna have to let the meeting that it's weather like this down at my house.
You know.
With the daffodils, wouldn't it?
What do, make a stick up, cut your grass and mow your lawn or something? Pick your flowers up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Big circle?
You'll have to, you'll have to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move right along to 3.3E, our tax administrator report, Mr. Bruce Daniels.
Good afternoon. For your approval, first off, I'll give you the January collections total, $3,089,521.45.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mr. Tim Phillips made the motion, and I believe Dennis Aldridge seconded it. How do you vote, Mr. Woody Hall Young?
Woody Hall Young Jr. votes aye.
Martha Hicks votes aye.
Tim Phillips, aye.
Dennis Aldridge, aye.
All right.
Mr. Young, I have no releases to
I
report to you
noticed
this
that.
month, so
What do you think about that?
hopefully that'll put a gold star in my coffee book in your eyes at least.
How'd you do that in January?
Beg your pardon?
I never did that in January.
We got lucky. And that's all there is to it. There's no great skill, there's no, wonderful idea, it just, we were lucky.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, so.
Administrator, sounds like mine.
You kill us next month.
I already do have one on my desk,
Well, yeah, I'll get into these letters, it will be.
so. Sales, as you can see, qualified sales for the month of January, still high, as far as, in comparison to last year, we were at 86 sales, And actually, I think that number's a little bit low. I did this report, this morning before the transfer cards from Friday were done, so the actual number's 96. There were 10 others, that came through. The percentage did still hold at, 74.
Where's
So,
it coming from?
almost 100 sales in January is, that's where we are, so.
If you think this is a beautiful place in January, watch out for April and May. That's all I'm gonna say.
They know where to buy.
But Bruce, I kinda noticed the sale prices is coming back down a
Well,
little bit.
what I did in this particular instance is I purposefully chose these numbers to show that sometimes it's not exactly, you know, it's, what my appraisers have to do is an impossible job as far as hitting a moving target. So, you know, I just want to be open with warts and all and show you all that, hey, sometimes we miss them. These are the numbers that we came up with, so thankfully for the past 3 years, really since the last reval went live, the majority of the sales, the values have been on the right side where we would want them to be. I purposefully chose these this month to show you that some, you know, even in this market, some values are a little bit lower than what you might expect, so.
But they still hit right in the middle of the two valves.
Right, which, in my opinion, had we not had the spike that we've had the last 8 or 9 months, those values would still be holding true as to where we are. So, unfortunately, with you know, since May of last year to today's date, we've seen, I actually ran that number this morning, it was 1,121 sales from May 1st to the end of January this year qualified. And if you add in personal property and new construction that sold but wasn't assessed as of January 1, that goes to 1,423. So, and that's in 9 months' time, you know, 1,400 sales. So.
They're having a lot of remodeling done.
Yes, there's a
A lot
tremendous
of
number of
remodel.
permits that are being pulled, and we're seeing I'm not necessarily going to go so far as to call it a spike, but we are seeing a number of RV hookups being pulled. You know, people that have land available, they're running electric services to be able to pull an RV. So we've actually had, probably in the last month, we've probably seen 6 or 7 of those permits come in alone for electrical hookups for RVs. So make of it what you will. There's the information. So, and also, as we need to do in February, I have an outstanding balance for you to give approval for the advertising process for outstanding 2020 taxes to begin. So I waited to run this until 9 o'clock this morning to get some of our weekend traffic coming in. So for 2020 taxes, right now, we have an outstanding balance of $1,330,825.25. This brings us through our system, as of this morning at 9 a.m. to a current collection percentage of 93.89% for our 2020 taxes, which to me is a very good number before second notices go out. Just for comparison purposes, at this exact same time last year, we were only at 92.71%. So we're almost a full, well, we actually are a full percentage point ahead of where we were at that point in time, including additions to the tax base. So, in my opinion, we're in decent shape. I hope you all see it the same way. But with that figure, I think we'll just have to have your approval to be able to begin the process of advertising the outstanding taxes.
All right,
I move we approve.
all right.
Second.
All right, Mr. Woody Hall Young made the motion to approve, and Mr. Dennis Aldridge seconded. How do you vote, Mr. Woody Hall Young?
Woody Hall Young Jr. votes aye.
Martha Hicks votes aye.
Tim Phillips, aye.
Dennis Aldridge, aye.
Yeah.
I don't know where we would go from there, so thank you all for approving
Now,
that.
Bruce, when is our next
Go to releases.
rebate?
It goes live January 1 of next year.
Next year?
Yes, ma'am.
I've had several people to ask me that. All right.
Bruce, any idea, our bankruptcy the same, increased, decreased?
Honestly, they're close to the same. I don't have that specific figure totally in my mind, right now.
The way the economy's going, I was
Right.
curious.
There's
So-
a moratorium on filing foreclosures for a period of time.
Oh, okay.
So,
So what's that mean?
It was part of one of the governor's orders at one point in time, there could be any filings on foreclosures.
Is that
So there
because
could,
of
when he
COVID?
released
Yeah,
that, there
what
could
he
be a kick. Or
I
will-
believe it's been released by time check, but there's still a hold on conviction, I believe.
well, there was a report that I received this morning, that indicated that, any, summary ejectments, things like that has been extended until the end of March. I don't know if the bankruptcies and foreclosures fall under that order or not, but, someone did show me a piece of
I haven't
paper.
read the latest.
Okay, well, that was shown to me this morning, by one of the magistrates, and so,
I just read the most current order when I need
Sure.
to do something.
absolutely.
Change
So,
it.
but, so I don't know if that is in lockstep with one and the same. I would assume that it is, but, so at least until the end of March.
Thank you.
All right.
We do thank you.
Great job.
Thank y'all.
All right, we'll move right along to 3.4A, County Manager's Report.
Afternoon, Board. We're gonna start with some good news on broadband. So, again, we just talked about the High Country Council of Governments, and again, this could not have happened without their help. But the Avery Chamber of Commerce has received another ARC grant for the same amount of $100,000 from the, I gave you the ARC, the Appalachian Regional Commission, so we look very forward to that. That is running in the paper, the notice this week. It is on our website, and I've already had some interest and got some broadband companies coming to talk to me on Thursday about submitting those, requests for, proposals. So, we look forward to that. Any questions about that grant? It's $100,000, and the company does have to match, the entire amount. So, same thing we did that brought broadband to Limble Falls, and if you all remember, house sales were kind of dead at a couple of developments over there, and when we got that going, house sales dropped out. So, that's gonna be really good news to the county. Any questions about that particular grant? We are still working with Kelly on the grant for the $800,000 from the other sources, and, I will keep you, updated on that when we hear any news on that one. Okay? Next thing I want to talk about is COVID. First, I want to, brag on our county employees, your county employees, every citizen's county employees. There has not been an incident where we're testing now and we're giving vaccines now, and there is a lot to do. And, I cannot say enough about whatever we, as the committee that meets every Monday and Friday, the COVID committee, whatever you want to call it, whatever we ask, everybody's done it. And I can't brag enough about the county employees that's come in. And y'all will see in your, agenda consent items and your information items, all the testimonies. That's just a few. The newspaper was full of editorials that you saw a couple of weeks ago. I can't brag on this bunch enough. And we work together, and together is that word that we put on that wall and out here in the hall. But it proves that if we work together, we can achieve anything and all goals. So, with that said, I'll remind everyone that testing is still at the pool. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, weather pending, so they're not there today, and I'm sorry about that. There are other places you could get a test, or, you know, hopefully they'll be there Wednesday. There has been a couple of times that, they just can't get out there for the testing. Currently,
Is that put on the website?
it is on, everything that you need to know is on the county website, on the front page, concerning vaccine or testing. As of last Wednesday, and that's when the health department updates our numbers locally, we have 109 community cases, and there are 37 active in the prison, so 146. Now, that's a downtrend. So, you talk about the surge at Thanksgiving, Christmas, might have a lot to do with that. But as the manager and part of the team that meets, let's just keep doing the right thing, wear those masks, social distance, and let's end this thing. The state average this morning is 8.5%, so that means of the tests that's happening statewide, 8.5% are coming back positive. We are under that curve at 7.9%, which makes me feel really good. Yancey's at 7.9, Mitchell's information wasn't available, Watauga's at 5.3, Ash is just 0.1% ahead at 8.6. So, that's some good news, I think, that things are looking good. Are there any questions about the numbers or the testing? And we'll move to vaccines. Y'all got a letter in there from the Department of Health and Human Services in your informational items. We did great. We have given, as a whole, 2,418 vaccines. That's with the hospital's help. That's what the health department has given, and that's what the hospital has given. And those are the first doses. So we've got to start talking in our language, first dose, second dose, because everything that we've given so far does recommend, have to have that second dose. So 2,418, very proud of what we've accomplished. Just remind the public and anyone that you all see, the second dose, you receive a card, you receive the date to come and get that second dose, and that is an automatic. If we administered a first dose for you, the state will make sure we have that second dose to give you. Okay? So, with that said, last week we were unable to administer any vaccine because we had zero. The whole state was pretty much against the wall. No one had any vaccines to give. So we are very limited on what we will be getting for the next 3 weeks. I'm not sure if that number is going to change. That number changed Friday. What we thought we were getting Thursday changed Friday afternoon. So it changed in a good way. So we had a few more. I will remind the public, if you're 65 and older, and that's who we can vaccinate right now. I know there's a lot of people that deserve and need a vaccination. But right now, it is 65 and older. And, we're going to, Avery County Health Department, Avery County is going to do what's the right thing. So 65 and older, if you will call the number, 733-8273, that's the vaccine hotline that we set up. Thanks again to this phone system that works wonderfully. We were able to open 6 lines when you dialed that number this morning, and 6 different people were able to answer the phone. We will do a time schedule for that because of the limited number. I would hate to have 400 people line up when I only have 150 vaccines. So that's the reason we're doing a arrival time, an appointment time, whatever you want to call it, for that. So we will try to open that up every Monday morning at 9 o'clock to take those allotted times. We can, as a county, and with the hospital, and with some help, we can do a mass vaccination. Now, it's not going to be a mass vaccination like you heard about at the Charlotte Panthers Stadium, where they did X amount of thousands, but I think we could handle a 1,200, 3-day event. So we will try to bid on those events. It's very competitive. They're going to look at what we've done in the past, which we proved that we could do it. They're going to look at diversity and who are we partnering with to have one of those mass clinics. But we are going to schedule a couple of mass clinics in the near future.
What age group would that be? But that's still...
It'll be, well, right now it's 65 and older. So I think what we need to do is plan when things change. We definitely need to get a couple of those on the books. What concerns me is 100 counties are going to try to do, everybody thinks they deserve more vaccines. We're just going to be patient and, and wait till, some more vaccines get approved. Johnson & Johnson may get approved here soon. Maybe that'll start flowing, and, you know, maybe the counties can get more vaccines. Something to brag about for Avery County, if y'all remember, we've got a community paramedicine person. And for those shut-ins and those that can't make the clinic and can't sit in the car, that particular person has been able to do 70 in-home visits and vaccines, which unbelievable job in the last 2.5 weeks. So you see that particular person, brag on them. And if you know someone that just cannot get out, bedridden or whatever their situation is, you know, we will try our best to get them on the list and get them vaccinated. Again, I know the frustration of the 65 and over, but that's, you know, that's the rules right now with the Department of Health and Human Services.
There's another one that needs to be recognized at some point in time.
Everybody needs to do an unbelievable job, yeah. Any questions? I know it's confusing, it is so hard to keep the phone message saying what it needs to say, the signboards, keeping those what they need to say, the website. We will try our best to get the information out there. Again, like I said, it changed Friday afternoon. We thought we were getting this many, and we got that many. So it's not an easy task. It's a moving target, unfortunately.
Do we already have the shots to do the second shot?
We get those in weekly. So the 470 we did that one day, they know we gotta have 470.
Okay.
So they will arrive. Now, I'll tell you the honest truth right now, am I nervous right now that we took that many names this morning and I don't have vaccines yet, but they say I'll have them. Okay? So Wednesday afternoon, I'm supposed to have my vaccines that we just took appointments for.
So the people that's getting the second shot, they have to call in?
No.
I didn't think
No.
they did because they give us a
No.
card and told
First
us.
dose, vaccine should arrive by Wednesday afternoon. The second dose vaccines are coming in, so we have that allotment for each day that they know we have to give them.
What days does the second dose start on, the 9th?
That will start the 9th, 10th, 11th. That'll be a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Yes. That will be a busy week next week, so anyone that would like to volunteer some time, just show up with your mask on. It's gonna be important that we still wear our mask.
Yes, it is. And keep our distance
Absolutely.
as far as we can. All right. Is that all you have, Mr. Mayor?
Other than I will be talking with the Kiwanis tomorrow at lunch, over lunch, about the vaccinations and about the testing. So, if you're bored to death and want to watch that online, you are welcome to. I think you just type in Avery County Kiwanis Club and it'll pull it up.
What time?
12 o'clock.
Okay. All right. All right, we'll move right along to 3.4B. Mr. Caleb Hogan.
Good afternoon, Board. I have a couple items today, and I believe it looks like item 2 is listed first on the agenda packet, so I'll start with it. Item 2, Avery County has received a grant in the amount of $1,000 from the High Country Charitable Foundation to provide lunches and supplies for people helping with the COVID-19 vaccination plan. Request the Board to adopt the following budget amendment: to debit supplies, general fund line item 4200.3300, $1,000, and to credit the donations, general fund line item 3345 of $1,000.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve? I think Mr. Woody Hall Young made the motion and Mr. Tim Phillips second. How do you vote, Mr. Woody Hall Young?
Woody Hall Young Jr. votes aye.
Martha Hicks votes aye.
Tim Phillips, aye.
Dennis Aldridge, aye.
Board, I approve this is the greatest place on earth. To have someone give you some money to feed people
Yeah.
while they're working.
Just walk up and say, what do you need?
Exactly.
We want to thank our senior place, States.
Oh, they've done wonderful, great lunches,
real
golly, they
good
pay.
deals for the workers out
Good.
there, and we want to thank them for that.
All right, item number one, the Department of Social Services has received an allocation of $68,571.04 from the state for pandemic LEAP, that's the Low Income Energy Assistance Program. Request the board adopt the following budget amendment to debit LEAP general fund line item 6800.6095, $68,571.04, and to credit county welfare general fund line item 3634, $68,571.04.
I hear a motion to approve.
So moved.
I hear a second. All right, Mr. Dennis Aldridge made the motion, and Woody Hall Young seconded. How do you vote, Mr. Young?
Would all young Junior votes aye?
Martha Hicks votes aye.
Tim Phelps votes aye. Dennis Aldridge, aye.
All right.
That's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you.
Sorry, I can't count, that's why I got my finance. I had item two and then item one.
No problem, I didn't want y'all to jump back and forth, so we can roll with the punch.
All
You talk
right.
about one that needs an award, that young man right there. He's done great.
We're glad to have him on our team.
Been a pleasure.
We really are. All right, we'll move right along to 3.4, our county attorney report. Michelle, do you have a report?
I do not have anything that requires board attention. If any member has a question for me about anything.
All right, we'll move right along then to 3.5, our staff reports and requests. We have anything there?
I mean, we do not, and I'm sorry, somebody's blowing up my phone about that.
Okay. 3.6, do we have anything for closed session?
I do not have anything.
All right. 3.7, we have our approval of the minutes for December the 10th, 2020 special meeting, and January the 4th, 2021 regular meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All right, Mr. Tim Phillips made the motion, Mr. Dennis Aldridge second. How do you vote, Mr. Woody Hall Young?
Would all young Junior votes aye?
Martha Hicks votes aye.
Tim Phillips, aye.
Dennis Aldridge, aye.
All right, we'll move right along to 3.8. We've had our agenda consent items before us. Does anybody have any concerns about the consent items? If not, they'll be approved by consent. 3.9, informational items. We had several good letters commenting about our COVID-19 setup and how well it went, and a lot of people come from other places, and they recognized what a good thing that we've done.
I just thank the board for when you designed that building. I wasn't thinking vaccination clinic, but by George, you made a beautiful one.
Lord knows, none of us did.
I mean, the flow, you have doors in the right place, I mean, it's perfect, it worked out great, thank you.
All right, we'll move right along. Our upcoming meetings, we do have a workshop set for February the 8th. Is it at 9:30, Cindy?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. All right. And I think we plan on working about all day, don't we, Cindy? Okay. And our commissioners need to decide, and we'll talk about it in the workshop, when you want to do the ethics class. They have it for February the 26th and for March.
It's just,
Yeah. Yeah. So get back with Cindy and let her know.
if any audience have anything you want to discuss at the board workshop, please let me know by in the morning. I'll try to get my notes out with a list of things that we're discussing, because it is a special meeting.
We have several things on the, to talk about. All right? If nothing else, do I hear a motion that we adjourn? All right, our meeting is adjourned.